guys, so this lesson we're looking at marketisation. The actual activity will probably take more like half an hour rather than an hour, so you've got a bit of time to do more of your own independent revision today. So I thought, rather than doing two things in one day, I'll do that, so you've got a bit of time to kind of catch up and do things at your own pace. So this is something I think this one was like the most common thing that people talked about. So what you've got to be prepared for is not only you not only need to know what marketisation is, what marketisation policy is, but you need to be able to say how different ways in which it impacts inequality. So that's what we'll be looking at this lesson. So on the first slide after the title, marketisation policies, if I could get you using this information, what I'm just going to say, just write your own definition of what a marketisation policy is. Now there's two elements, and marketisation policies in like the recent decade have become a lot more popular and a lot more common in schooling. They're part of the conservative philosophy. Now, what it is it's kind of making schools compete like a business. So they're competing to get funding. Now, if you think about this, if you step in the boring, you have got hundreds of clothing shops probably. So in order to get your money, they've all got to compete. And they compete by offering competitive prices, quality clothing, discounts, things to appeal to people maybe, like offering something different. Now the idea is that competition drives up quality. If River Island was the only shop in the Bullring, there would be no incentive to drive up quality. So the idea of marketisation is it drives up the quality of education. So if you think about this, every student that goes to school, the school gets a particular amount of funding for them. Equally, we can see this further on at university, and every student that goes to a particular university, you get £9,000. The school gets £9,000 a year. So the more students a school or university encourages into their building, the more money they get. That in theory encourages the school to drive up their quality to encourage more students to come to them. Now, how do parents know what's a good school to go to? So if you think, when you're talking about like maybe buying cosmetic products, you could read YouTube reviews, or you could read reviews online. It's kind of the same idea with schooling. There's review systems. So we've got Ofsted that review the school, so you know South Bromsgrove is an outstanding school, so you know it's a good quality school. And you've got league tables that rank the quality of the schools based on like GCSE results, how many students pass the EBAC subjects, which if you remember is English, Maths, Science, Geography, History and a language. So essentially the outstanding schools with the higher league tables will encourage the more students. So the higher up in the league table, the more money a school's going to get. And you can see this at university. The universities that have the highest number of applicants are probably Oxford and Cambridge, and that's because they offer, in theory, the highest quality of education. Right, so your basic definition is it's a marketisation policy is a policy that encourages schools to compete for students in order to make money, and as a part of that there's processes of allowing people to make informed decisions like Ofsted and league tables. So if I could get you to write your own definition of that. Now, marketisation policy, we know that that this has an overall impact on the education system. The idea is it will drive up standards, but there is 3 different ways that sociologists have argued that it's causing inequality. So on the next slide, you can see I've got a quote about schools, and this is taken from a newspaper. What it basically suggests is that the less able students, working class students end up with less qualified teachers, they are more likely to have supply teachers, and they're likely to be in lower sets with less experienced teachers, rather than getting the more experienced teachers and being in the top sets. Now, what I'm going to get you to do, I'm going to explain this. So if you want to note this down, this links, the reason behind this, sociologists argue, is a link to marketisation. There's a key term here, educational triage. Educational triage, you've got to think, I'm just going to use an analogy. If there's a war or there's a disaster and you're a doctor and you run on, what doctors do is they categorise, in this situation, people into 3 cases. Hopeless cases are people that are unfortunately going to die. Low risk cases, which are people that don't need immediate help. And borderline cases, which are people that will survive if you help them. And they invest all their time into the middle group. Now, if you think teachers or schools only have a limited amount of resources. So again, they create a triage, just like the doctor did. Hopeless cases, those who are never going to get that needed A to C to make the league tables look good. Then you have your real successful cases who, with very limited help, are going to get into the A to C. Then you have your borderlines. And they're students that are on a C to D borderline, so they are going to either get a C and look really good in the league tables or not quite get it. So all the money, all the time, all the investment goes into supporting these C to D borderline people. So extra revision, best qualified teachers. I've told you, at my last school, they would get all the C to D borderline kids and have their photos up in the staff room to encourage teachers to spend more time on them. In the meantime, these hopeless cases are ignored, given the supply teachers, the less qualified teachers, the newer teachers. This creates inequality because the students who are more likely to be seen as hopeless cases are the working class students. And there can be a lot of reasons they're seen as hopeless cases, and they might speak restricted code, they might not have material wealth to pay for a tutor or things like that, so they're seen as a hopeless case. Okay. Right, and the next thing is an external reason. So this isn't actually the schools creating the inequality. Now, what this is that you have 2 different types of choosers. You have middle class privileged choosers. Middle class privileged choosers have both the economic and the cultural capital to get into outstanding schools. So if you look at this table, outstanding schools and catchment areas in outstanding schools, the average house price is about 40 grand more than in a good school area. So it adds on money. So someone's going to need to have, first of all, the economic capital to get into an outstanding school. But secondly, they've got the cultural capital in the sense they understand the league tables, they prioritise a good school, and they end up getting their kids into good school. So on that image, can you just explain what how middle class privileged choosers can end up getting into the outstanding school? On the other side of the screen, we've got working class culture, which will remind you of last lesson. They're fatalistic. So they might think, even if I send my kid to an outstanding school, they're not going to do well. Therefore, I'm not going to, even if I've got the money, I'm not going to invest to live in an outstanding area. There's no point. What will be, will be. They're collectivist, which means they're more likely to prioritise sending their child to a school where their friends are than sending their kid to a school that is outstanding. They're present time orientated, so they're less likely to want to think about the future, like where's going to have the best GCSE results when their kid is only going into year 8. And immediate gratification means they might prioritise wanting to have fun in the meantime and not read up about schools and things like that. Now, obviously, please don't think all working class people are like this. This is just what the sociology spec says. So I do apologise. I do appreciate this is really snobby. I hope you don't think this is my opinion. Okay. Now the third power slide, I've just simply put a picture of a white middle class female. Now the reason I included this, and I'll need you to write around this, what we've got to think is schools want their future league tables to look good. An outstanding school, we know South Bromsgrove is oversubscribed. We've got too many people who want to go to this school than we've got places for. Who are you going to select if you've got choice? You are going to select the students that you perceive are going to do well. The most likely to achieve are white, middle class or Asian female students. Okay, so these students are more likely to be accepted into an outstanding school. That creates inequality because ethnic minority students, some ethnic minority students, working class students and male students are more likely to be put in the less successful schools in the area. So what you will see, if you've got an outstanding and a failing school in a similar area, the more you will see often see a class divide between the two schools, which means working class students are less able get a lower quality education. So if I could get you to write that in your own words around that image. Finally, to show your understanding, I've just given you a table that to fill out that goes through all of that. If you have any problems, please let me know. I hope you're all okay, and I hope that's useful for you. See you all soon. Bye.